Good evening. The San Dimas City Council meeting and successor agency will come to order. Please rise. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Oral communications. Members of the audience are invited to address the City Council on any item on this agenda or not on this agenda. Please comment. Public comment will not be taken during each individual agenda item except for public hearing items. Comments on public hearing items will be heard when that item is scheduled for discussion. Under the provisions of the Brown Act, the legislative body is prohibited from engaging in discussions on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. However, your concerns may be referred to staff or set for discussion at a later date. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Madam Clerk.
First speaker is Margie Green from the Historical Society.
Let me correct something right now. If you're going to be talking about Dennis Bertone, you can talk till all night long, okay? If you're going to talk about any other issue, please try to limit yourself for 3 minutes. So we just want to make sure everyone knows and understands that we're here to make our friend feel like he's welcome and here in this chambers for the rest of his life. And as you'll see, after I start reading a couple of things here, you'll think we'll be here the rest of our lives. So, Margie, please.
All right, I'm going to start off with some really fun thing that's going on. The free walking tour Historical Society puts on the first Saturday of every month. We are going to do it again this month, although it falls on July 2nd, and a lot of people might be out of town, so if you would, call and let the Historical Society know that you're coming. It's a walking tour put on by a longtime resident, third-generation resident, David Harbin, and we'll meet at the Walker House. Now, the Walker House looks a little bit different right now. It's wrapped in green wrapping. And so what we need you to do is go to the back patio gate, and we'll meet back there for the walking tour at 10 o'clock in the morning. It'll take about an hour and 15 minutes, a pretty flat walking. It's real easy. It's fun for the family, fun for guests if you have anybody from out of town. So it is a historical tour. Let's see, we'll also have the gift shop and the museum open from 10 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. Same day, got to go in through the back gate. It looks really nice back there. The front doesn't look so good now, but it's going to be beautiful in 90 days. Isn't that right? Okay, anyway, bring the whole family. It's good for kids as well. Let us know you're coming. Call Dave Harbin, and his number is area code 915-990 3395, or you can call the Historical Society office, and both of these numbers, you'll probably need to leave a message. Just leave us a message that you're coming. That way we'll pay attention and look for you. Historical Society office is 909-592-1190. And this is at the Walker House, and that's 121 North San Dimas Avenue. And it's the big house. You can't miss it, the one wrapped in green right now. And the painter scaffolding up there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure if I needed to sign up anywhere to speak for this part of the meeting, but back to your point, this is some friends that are with me today to recognize Dennis. And Dennis, you will always have a seat at my table Christmas Eve. Also, I brought Dennis a lotto ticket because the city has been very lucky to have had him this long on the council. And so, Dennis, I hope the luck continues.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you don't mind, the city clerk will read your name as listed, and then after that, I'll ask if anybody else wants to speak. Then anyone who hasn't given the city clerk a speaker's card, then they can come up, and we'll take that time to acknowledge them. All right, Madam Clerk.
Next speaker is Ian Stewart on SP 23.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. I'd like to speak about the incorporation of the SP 23 zone into the downtown district. It's an informational item on tonight's agenda, and just want to reiterate, as I have over the last 3 to 4 years that I've been involved with my property at 155 North Eucla, that we are not interested in changing the zoning of our property. And I don't know why the interest keeps being conveyed, but I just want to make it very clear that we like what we do, we're good at it, we want to grow, and we want to grow in this city. We like it here, and we want to grow with you and for the betterment of the residents and my company and the companies that operate out of my facility. So if you would, please consider not incorporating the SP23 into the downtown district. I don't think it geographically makes sense to do so, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Bob Olander on the downtown specific plan.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. Dennis. Well, let's go to Denny. Gene and I gave our warm wishes to your last meeting, so I just want to reiterate that we appreciate your 34 years and your ability to compromise, and you will be really missed. So good luck.
Thank you.
I'd like to express my personal opinion on incorporating the 2 western sites to within the downtown specific plan. Number 1, all 3 sites in SP 23 are already included in the city's new housing element plan submitted to HCD, that's Housing and Community Development, awaiting approval for years 21 through 29 for the general plan. And I'm sure as HCD will get back to us sometime in the future, hopefully. Sorry for the editorial. Number 2, incorporation of the 2 western sites into the downtown specific plan is a good long-term planning decision for the City Council because, number 3, by including the 2 sites in the downtown specific plan, it better meets the community needs overall with better, consistent planning for the future. Finally, on a very personal note, I hope all the future development over the next 20-plus years stays privately driven and not governmentally driven. I believe it would not be appropriate to use the Supreme Court decision from 2005 for Kelo, it's spelled K-E-L-O, decision for eminent domain decisions in our city for the downtown specific plan. And we have a very good city attorney, and I'm sure he can better explain Kelo, but something that I paid attention to in 2005 when I had property. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Margie Green from the Historical Society on Dennis Bertone.
This is from the San Dimas Historical Society. I'd like to have anybody else that's on the board of directors please come up here. Susan, Dave Bratt. Susan absolutely hates this. But Denny, we want to present this plaque to you. And it says on here, for your dedicated years of service, your membership, your friendship from the San Dimas Historical Society, from the board of directors and all its members, we really thank you for the last 34 years. And this is so heartfelt from all of us. We've spent a lot of time with you, just done so much with you. You've done so much for us. You've done so much for the city. So thank you so very, very much for all your 34 years. And your friendship, and your membership, but especially the friendship. Thank you, Denny.
Thank you very much.
All right, other board members, this is our vice president. I'm president for the Historical Society, but Sue does all the work. She is our vice president for the Historical Society for the next 2 years till I get out of office. And Dave just got out of office. He's our past chair, just past president. So I appreciate their help, and they appreciate Denny just as well, although they don't want to say anything. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right here.
Sylvia Melendez from the San Dimas Chamber of Commerce on Dennis Bertone.
Hello, my name is Marilyn Sparks. I'm the chair of the San Dimas Chamber of Commerce, and we wanted to thank Dennis for his years of service and for always being a champion of the chamber. We appreciate it. I joined the chamber in 2015, and I'm so fortunate to have made your acquaintance. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you very much.
And we have a beautiful certificate for you.
And some flowers.
And some flowers. Oh, will someone get our picture? Yeah. Okay.
In case you all don't know it, Denny's also served on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce. How many years? Was that 3 or 6 years? 6 years. 6 years. He was a convert. At first, he wasn't crazy about the Chamber of Commerce, but we put him on the board and he learned to love us. And he was an asset.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Since the mayor gave us extra time, I just want to mention that probably won't get mentioned tonight. Dennis and I worked together for a number of years, 12 that I can remember, on the Festival of Arts board. He was quite involved in that organization as well. Unfortunately, it's been disbanded now, but people need to understand that Dennis was a true involved community citizen. So I appreciate having his friendship for the past 20-plus years.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Dave.
Matt Lyons with Assemblymember Chris Holden's office for Councilmember Barton.
Well, first off, I want to thank Sylvia from the Chamber for making sure that all of the legislative reps knew that this was the can't miss meeting for the year. So, but on behalf of Assemblymember Chris Holden, I want to thank Dennis for just being a wonderful city partner. This day one. And working with you through that capacity to secure the Walker House for many generations to come, and also working with you on anything and everything that came your way. A few things that I wanted to highlight, having been a resident of San Dimas growing up, I did the math, and I figured you were first elected when I was in 8th grade. And I'm a little bit older now, but as a resident of San Dimas and a neighbor from Laverne, I get to look back and go, thank you for all of the economic opportunities that you've given to the city of San Dimas. When I first biked from the canyon to Lone Hill, I'd pass a lot of strawberry fields, and now we've got some great shopping centers that I find myself and my family frequenting over the years. But something that a lot of people may not know is your regional impact when it comes to securing and maintaining green space. Your long-time advocacy on the Rivers and Mountains Conservancy has blessed this region with walkable trails, hikeable trails, trails that our horses can continue to ride on freely, and you have been a tireless advocate for open green spaces. And we can just look up at the foothills, and we have you to thank for all of that over the years. So on behalf of my family, who loves to hike in the foothills, thank you so much for that. So again, on behalf of the Lyons family, who grew up in San Dimas, and Assemblymember Holden, who I've had the pleasure of working with for the last 10 years, I would like to present you with this certificate of recognition. Continuing the theme, when Mayor Morris retired, he joked that he wasn't run out of town. And I want to congratulate you for continuing that theme and not being run out of town, but truly being a blessing to the town for the 34 years that you have served.
Well, I thought it was best that I retired before I was run out of town.
Marco Lundgren with Senator Anthony Portantino's office on Councilmember Barton.
Dennis, I think you're going to have to eventually kind of park your way up here because there's more people coming still. But on behalf of Senator Portantino and the California State Senate, we want to congratulate you on your 34 years of service to the city and its residents. I know that the senator has known you for many years from when he was a council member in La Cañada. And he definitely appreciates the friendship and the working relationship that you guys have had way over a decade. So on behalf of Senator Portantino, we would like to congratulate you and, happy retirement, Dennis.
David Estrada for Councilmember Barton.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my friend Dennis. I rise on a very personal level to say thank you, Dennis, for your years of service. I've lived in San Dimas for the past 43 years, and for the past 34 years, your name has become a household name in my home. I want to thank you so much for your service to the city. You've made a huge difference in my life personally, which I thank you so much for. The city is a different city than it was 34 years ago when you started, and I want to thank you for that. Thank you for the new Popeyes. I really enjoy going there quite a bit. God bless you, sir. Take care.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Vicky Paul with Supervisor Catherine Barger's office on Councilmember Bertone's retirement.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens. I'm here representing Supervisor Catherine Barger, and I want to say being an elected representative for over 30 years is not something for the faint at heart. You are blown by different winds, and you stand the test of time. You have, besides being here for your city of San Dimas, you have enriched this area so much with the different organizations that you've been involved with. The East San Gabriel Valley is a different place because you have been here for 34 years. And not many people can say something like that. Unfortunately, the supervisor wasn't here to honor this last meeting that you're at, but I have the pleasure of doing that. So on behalf of her, I want to thank you for your 30 years of service to this community, to the East San Gabriel Valley, and for all you've done and will continue to do here. Retired, but still here, and enjoying it from the sidelines, I'm sure giving some advice, and continuing to mentor. So, Dennis, I wish you a happy retirement, and thank you for all you've done for this community.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, those are all the speaker cards that have been turned in.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak to Dennis, feel free to step up now and go ahead and talk to him and tell him, why you're here. I noticed quite a few past city employees here. If you guys would like to say something to Councilman Bertone, our friend Dennis, please feel free.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Dennis. I'm sitting in the council chamber after 2.5 years, brings back a lot of memories for me. As Matt said, in terms of calculating math, you've attended over 1,000 meetings here, in terms of your timeline out here. Anyway, on a personal note, I just want to say something. Dennis, thank you for giving yourself selfless public service to help your neighbors. The San Dimas community and the city staff is quite remarkable. I know for sure there may have been times, quite challenging times, but above all, also quite rewarding times. I do want to express my appreciation for your 34 years of service with the City Council. Personally, also thank you for your support and understanding during my time at the city. San Dimas and the community will miss you. Miss your steadfastness, wisdom, and leadership. I know you love San Dimas and had always demonstrated unrelenting integrity and dedication to the community, and as well as a tenured council member. San Dimas will definitely miss you. I wish you all your best in your much-deserved retirement. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Krishna. I really appreciate it. You know, I can just tell you that anyone that would like some plaques like this, there's two requirements. You get old and you hang around for a long time. And this is really nice. This is overwhelming. I just thank you.
Anyone else wishing to say a few words to or about Dennis? We're willing to listen to any stories you may have. Well, looks like Dennis, you're in the secret. Okay. At this point, I'd like to call up Sherry Garwick, our Public Works Director.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, and Councilman Barton. A lot of eloquent people up here tonight. So on behalf of staff, I want to thank you for your 34 years to the community. During this time, you've been a tremendous force in protecting the city's open space planning and safeguarding wildlife and the natural environment. Your leadership was critical in ensuring that Benelli Park was preserved as a beautiful natural park, often in direct opposition to development and developers and sometimes county personnel. The park now has over 14 miles of walking and hiking paths, as well as horse trails. We can now walk on a path that show us what the natural California is really like, rather than the concrete jungle that we sometimes see ourselves in. Your service to the environment was recognized by the California State Senate as they appointed you to the Rivers and Mountains State Conservancy, which works to preserve open space and habitat in not just Little San Dimas, but in all of Los Angeles and Orange counties. You've also been a vanguard in promulgating solutions to local and regional transportation issues. You've represented the interests of the local community on the San Gabriel Valley Council of Government, serving as a director on the board. You've been a steady, thoughtful, and frugal leader, making sure that the city is now in a better place than when you started. Much like the high school students that you coached and counseled during your 38 years in your other career as a high school counselor, the citizens of San Dimas will long benefit from your sound advice, decisions, and leadership. As these others are here to attest, we can definitely say, well done. Now take the time to enjoy the benefits of the environs that you've worked so hard to preserve. Congratulations and best of luck on the newest chapter of your journey. Behind you is a street sign provided as a token of our thanks and as a reminder through all your travels that San Dimas will always be on your road to home. Thank you.
Thank you. I just hope I can live up to that. Thank you very much.
All right. As we continue, I'd like to read a press release. Coalition to Preserve Benelli Park, dated 2/24/98. The coalition is pleased that after 12 long years, we have been able to reach an agreement between the County of Los Angeles, the City of San Dimas, and the Coalition to Preserve Benelli Park. We feel that this agreement satisfies the needs of the county to generate revenue, meet the needs of the City of San Dimas to protect its residents from noise and traffic, and addresses the environmental concerns of the coalition. We would like to thank the thousands of residents in the East San Gabriel Valley who made this possible by their continual letter writing and their elected officials, and attendance at the many community meetings. Their underflagging interest in saving open space made the solution possible and convinced the county to negotiate with the coalition and the City of San Dimas. Two people who deserve that special thanks and without whose support this agreement would not not been reached. Ronald Vera, attorney, and the Coalition to Preserve Benelli Park, and Kurt Morris, the mayor of the City of San Dimas. Significant points of the agreement. Parking for the Raging Waters. Raging Waters has been provided with adequate parking while still protecting the sensitive habitat of Benelli Park. This expanded parking protects neighboring residential neighborhoods from traffic and street parking. The entrance village to the amphitheater proposed in Area B has been removed. The entrance village would have been 8 acres and 40 square feet to Raging Waters is now limited to 3,000 square feet of building for security and ticketing, plus restrooms in Area A and Area B. Tram Road. The coalition has been given the ability to help decide the location of the tram road within the park. If a disagreement arises within that location, the county agrees to allow the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife to be called to help decide the most environmentally sensitive location for such a road. Trails. No public trails will be closed in Area B at any time. They will remain open even during Raging Waters operating season. Project Review Committee. A project review committee has been formed with representations from cities in San Dimas and Laverne, which will give for the first time the opportunity for these cities to have input into what happens to be the park. It must be pointed out that this settlement is a compromise and that all parties were forced to give and take situations, resulting in some decisions that not everyone agreed with. On a whole, however, we believe that this agreement meets the goals of the coalition and benefits the public and especially the residents of the city of San Dimas. Even though we continue to have concerns about the environmental impact of the tram road and the pedestrian bridge, we are pleased that we will be given the opportunity to provide input into ways that these projects can be completed in an environmentally sensitive manner. One of the most positive aspects of these negotiations is that there is at last a dialogue between the County of Department of Parks and Recreation, the City of San Dimas, and the Coalition. The Coalition to Preserve Benelli Park is anxious to convey the fact that we do not see this as the end of this process to save the park, but only as the beginning. We will remain vigilant and ever present to make sure the agreement is carried out and that the park and the public is protective. For further information, contact Dennis Bertone. I will read his phone number, but I think I'll just hold off because it may be the same phone number.
It's fine.
So, it's fine?
You can read it.
Okay, 909-599-7431. Barney will answer the phone. Okay. At this time, Dennis has asked to be given the floor. Dennis, you have 3 minutes.
Well, thank you very much. I'm just overwhelmed. I told Deborah I wanted to keep it light and simple, and knowing Deborah, she didn't do it. And thank you, Deborah, for everything. I would like to thank the citizens of San Dimas for giving me the honor to serve them as their elected representative to the City Council for 34 years. It's been a humbling experience, but I'm proud of what I've done, and I'm proud to be part of the city. San Dimas is full of wonderful people and is a city of volunteers. We have the Historical Society, the volunteers for the sheriff, the volunteers for the Chamber of Commerce, the volunteers for the Senior Club. And without these volunteers, many things that the city does would not occur. So I thank you, the volunteers. The city is in very good shape. The City Council is in good shape. The City Council is represented by these 4 gentlemen present, and also Eric Nakano, who has been elected. And one thing you can say about this council, they're not here for their own gratitude or for money or financial gain. They all look forward to making the city better. So I thank you, gentlemen, and continue the good work that you've done. We have a workforce of people that work for the city that have done an excellent job. And the thing that's so amazing about it. Things work so well in the city that the city council takes credit for it. But it's really the workers that are responsible for it, and so I thank the workers. We've had a long line of very competent and financially savvy city managers, including the president we have in Chris. And they've done their main job for the city, and that's to keep us in financial strong position. And Chris, thank you very much for your work on the finances. I would like to just thank two individuals that have helped me an awful lot. There's many to thank, but one is John Lee. John's sitting over there. John is our computer person. And all the problems I've had with computers, John has solved them for me. If it wasn't for John, I'd still be on the computer right now. So John, thank you very much. The other person is Deborah Lee. Deborah Black, Deborah Black has been a steady force in the city and has been good for the city, is extremely competent, and she has helped me every time I needed help. Deborah helped me. So Deborah Black, thank you very much for your help and consideration. I want to say congratulations to Ryan for being reelected, Emmett for being reelected. Emmett, you deserve to be reelected. You've been a great mayor, and I appreciate the way you deal with the public and you tell people that they're allowed to speak and you allow them to speak. Once again, I want to thank everyone, and I've had a great time and I've enjoyed it, and I'll still be around, but thank you very much for your support. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll move forward. Consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion unless a member of the City Council requests separate discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I just need to mention that I have to abstain, recuse myself from item 7, which deals with the Pioneer Square project, close to which I have a piece of property.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? With the exception of Councilman Ebner abstaining on item number 7, consent calendar is approved. We'll move on into a public hearing, tentative and partial map 21-0002, TBM 83531. That's 830 South Walnut, San Dimas. A request to subdivide one parcel into two parcels. Staff?
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. We are here for tentative parcel map 21-0002. Again, that's at 830 South Walnut. There we go. The request is, we had an applicant who is requesting to subdivide an existing 123,123 square foot parcel located in a single-family hillside zone into two parcels that would measure 51,220 square feet and 73,570 square feet. Here's a vicinity map. The property in question is located at the south end of South Walnut Avenue, just above Puddingstone. So for background, on June 7th, the applicant submitted an initial plan to subdivide the parcel at 830 South Walnut into 3 lots. Due to this terrain present on the site, it was determined during review that only 2 lots could be created and meet all of the applicable zoning standards. On May 19th, 2022, the Planning Commission voted to recommend approval of the project to the City Council. Here's a topographic map of the property. You can see there are flat spots at the bottom. It gets very steep up towards the top of the hill. And it is those steep portions that made it pretty much impossible per our zoning code to divide it into 3 separate lots. However, the 2 lots as shown do meet our code. Tentative parcel map shows where the buildable areas would be on both lots, located in the flatter portion as to avoid too much grading. Driveways would then go down through the flatter portions and connect to Walnut Avenue. So in the SF hillside zone, the minimum lot size depended upon the average slope found on the parcel. For slopes of under 20,000 square feet, the minimum parcel size is 25,000 square feet. Both of these new lots meet that minimum lot size. We worked with the applicant to find buildable pads that would minimize grading on site. Per the conditions of approval, the parcel map will require land dedication in order to complete the street and provide for the construction of a new curb and gutter along the Walnut Avenue property line. And at this time, no new residents are proposed. Any new residence that is proposed would still have to go to DPRB. Environmental review, the project is categorically exempt from CEQA. And staff and the Planning Commission recommend that the City Council approve tentative parcel map 21-0002 by approving resolution 2022-40. That concludes staff's presentation. I am here to answer any questions you may have.
Just have one question. Is this a equestrian property?
No, it's a single-family hillside.
Single-family hillside.
Yeah. It's honestly, it's too steep to worry about the equestrian portion.
In the past, I don't know, it was a couple years ago, I think there was a project on Walnut down the road from this that required the undergrounding of utilities. Is that anything that plays into this particular project?
For any new project, staff would require the undergrounding. There is a pole that runs along the street through there. They would underground from there. They will also be required as part of your conditions to underground new sewer that will go down Walnut to Puddingstone to connect.
Thank you.
Any further questions? We'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this project, please rise, come to the podium. Anyone wishing to oppose this project? I think, Margie, you're leaving? Okay. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Further discussion?
Well, I think it's a good project. It's logical to divide this property up into two parcels, so I'm in favor of it.
Is that a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries 5-0. We'll move on to other business. Update on the downtown specific plan and consideration of reincorporating the three western SB 23 triangular parcels into the proposed downtown specific plan project boundary 155 North Euclid Avenue 159 Acacia Street 127 North Acacia Street. Henry, no? It doesn't look like Henry. Staff.
Sorry, just to be clear before we start, we are only talking about the two westernmost parcels, correct? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. The focus of my presentation this evening is to provide you an update on the downtown specific plan thus far. As you may recall, at the February 8th City Council meeting, I had given a brief presentation update on the downtown specific plan process and outreach efforts, including meetings with both the Technical Advisory Committee and the Community Advisory Committee. Since that February 8th City Council meeting, staff and the consultant have continued to work diligently on the downtown specific plan process. Outreach efforts to involve community members and stakeholders in varying degrees in all phases of the downtown specific plan process have occurred. Several downtown specific plan email updates have already been sent out thus far, and staff is continuing to engage the public through weekly social media posts, responding to questions or comments on the downtown specific plan MindMixer website, updating the project website on the city webpage, and providing information and updates in the city quarterly Frontier newsletter. A total of 3 out of 4 Community Advisory Committee meetings have been held, with the 4th and last Community Advisory Committee meeting scheduled for the fall of 2022. Out of the 5 public community workshop meetings that are planned at various stages of the downtown specific plan process, 2 have already occurred. The first community workshop occurred on February 23rd of this year and was conducted virtually via Zoom. During the first community workshop, the consultant provided an overview of the downtown specific plan process, provided a quick guide to the Mind Mixer project website, and held small breakout group discussions. There were a total of 75 public attendees, not including the consultant team nor the city staff. The second community workshop occurred just a little over a month ago on May 11th, 2022, and was conducted in person at the Senior Center. At the second community workshop, attendees were asked to provide feedback on the draft vision statement and goals for the downtown specific plan, and to provide feedback on image boards to get an understanding on which images represented what they envisioned for the downtown. Feedback on the draft vision statement and goals can still be provided by taking a survey on the downtown specific plan Mind Mixer interactive website. Just to be clear, the survey will be available until this Thursday, June 30th. So for any members of the public who have not filled out the survey, please do so. Some of the key takeaways, the presentation and summary notes from both community meetings and results of the image boards can be found on the city's downtown specific plan webpage. Some of the key takeaways from both community meetings included parking structures to accommodate proposed uses, need for various uses, including new restaurants, provide cultural and community events, maintain the downtown walkability, limit structures to 2 to 3 stories within the historic core, and up to 4 to 5 stories within the gateway areas. And requests to add the 2 remaining specific plan number 23 parcels to the project boundary, which were removed by the City Council at their October 12, 2021 meeting. As a reminder, staff is merely providing the City Council with updates from the past 4 months. The specific Plan 23 sites were brought up by a number of different community members from both community workshops. If the council desires to take any action as a result of the community input, tonight would be the most appropriate to do so, or the council may request to bring it back for further discussion at another meeting. Lastly, staff also provided information on the Downtown Specific Plan project to the planning commissioners at their June 16th meeting, so just a couple of weeks ago. These are the major downtown specific plan milestones that have occurred since staff and the consultant team started on the process last year. The third community workshop is scheduled for Thursday, August 11th in the Plummer Community Building, just north of City Hall. Staff will continue to provide both the Planning Commission and City Council updates during key milestones throughout the duration of the project. If you have any questions, I can answer for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
I have one question, and thank you for the presentation and the recap of the input so far. And the reports are on the website that show what the different groups that participated came up with, and there's a lot of good input. I have a question about the SP23 sites that we're talking about here, and it's the 2 on the left, the one in the middle and the one on the left are the 2 sites we're thinking about, or we're going to discuss whether to put them back into the boundaries of the downtown specific plan. Those 2 sites have been identified by the City Council as in the housing element as potential sites for housing. And there are many other sites that are already within the existing boundaries of the downtown specific plan that we adopted, the boundaries we adopted in October. The density of those different sites, are those densities all assumed to be the same?
They are not, actually. There are varying densities for each of the sites, depending on how much our consultant, PlaceWorks, was able to provide analyses on what they can actually have for that particular site.
What they could have. And so when we suggested to the HCD, and I guess we haven't really heard back from them yet, as was noted by a speaker, did we say, well, the ones that are in what we call or being called the gateway of the downtown specific plan, the shopping centers that are closer to the freeway on Bonita and Arrow, did we say, well, that's got a certain amount of density, and the ones along Bonita in the downtown proper have a different density, and these two here have a different? Did we specify those going into that?
Are you inquiring regarding the specification within the housing element?
I am.
Okay.
I am, because if that's adopted, then that'll be the general plan or the underlying thing that we would be targeting a zone to fulfill. And so I'm just wondering if those have already been suggested. Obviously, we haven't adopted yet because HCD hasn't gotten back to us. But would those be the densities that we would be trying to achieve on the various properties? And this is all leading to the question is, what is the density on these two pieces of property?
I can answer that, Councilman Rebner. HCD does require us to identify certain ranges of densities or a density amount for each potential site within the housing element. So as Ann did state, when we did submit the initial draft to HCD, they did provide some density ranges for each site. And for these two particular sites, it is in attachment 1. What was submitted was 12 to 16 dwelling units per acre for these two sites.
Okay. All right. That's the only question I have.
I have one question. If we put this in the downtown specific plan, does the zoning automatically change?
So within the specific plan, if the council chose to include it, there's varying options. So it would be within the specific plan, but within the specific plan for these particular properties or any other properties that the council sees fit would have particular development standards and or requirements, an overlay zone as a potential for these particular properties if it's included within the downtown specific plan. But being a part of the housing element, we will have to go through this process whether or not they are within the downtown specific plan.
Isn't the downtown specific plan essentially zoning all these properties?
It would be within it would be designated as the downtown specific plan, but within the downtown specific plan, you'll have different, let's say, planning areas or districts, however we describe those. And within those areas, we'll have specific standards, development standards, massing, parking, height limitations, in addition to, if so choosing by the council, an overlay zone that could provide for flexibility. So could remain, the industrial uses will remain as a permitted use. And then if a residential developer were to come to the city, there's an option to rezone that to be residential.
And I guess another way of asking the same question is, when we adopt the downtown specific plan, is there any additional zoning changes needed for these two pieces of property, should they be in the boundaries?
No, we will do a downtown specific plan. That'll be the zone, and then the general plan we'll have to amend that to be consistent with that as well.
So if I understand correctly, with an overlay zone, no existing use would be legal non-conforming then?
Correct.
So it would be fully permitted, and they'd be able to, I guess that would be another question of mine. Would they be able to expand in the future if they wanted to expand their operation?
Yeah, we can provide those details in the specific plan when we go through that process in the future.
Okay.
So they could continue their business.
Correct.
Henry, there was a few months back, the council voted to pull these two properties from the program. Could you relate back to the council and the people that are here, what the reasoning was during that period, during that session, why we pulled it?
If I recollect correctly, council was concerned about previous proposals and some of the pushback from the surrounding community with regards to a previous multifamily development that was proposed, I believe, on the LA Signal property. And I don't believe the council thought that it made sense to include these areas, and there was some concern about some of the potential delays with the current property owners, if I remember correctly.
It made sense to pull them?
Pull them.
For those reasons, because I've received several calls in the last, few days talking about, that existing neighborhood is concerned about potential growth and expressing that the fact that these businesses have not expressed an interest to sell or anything at that point, from what I understand. But the neighborhood is concerned about us rezoning this, and all of a sudden it becomes, massive housing development. Yes. And or some other deal. So the question is, from what we heard from earlier, both of the properties are actually saying, we're not ready to sell, we don't want to sell, we're not willing to get there. So, we're saying one thing now, that the property owners, when we addressed them earlier and talked to them about this, they made it very clear that they weren't interested in getting rid of the properties. And so we're basically telling them, you're going to be in a position where you may not have much choice.
No, they will always have the choice. They don't have to sell. So it's always going to be up to the property owners. We will not provide for eminent domain. It's not our intent to provide any amortization schedule to where a certain period of time, for instance, like 15 years, if there was an amortization requirement within the zoning, at that point you would have to sell. Staff wasn't intending to ever do any of those items. It was always going to be the option of the property owners to sell. This just provides the zoning at that point, and the general plan land use designation.
Henry, if I remember correctly, I think when we talked about this last, when we had pulled these properties, the discussion that we were having was centered around changing the zoning and then making any existing use legal non-conforming, which is why I asked that earlier, which it sounds like the overlay zone may be something that this is a great discussion to have about an overlay zone and how that would potentially keep any permitted uses that are on the properties now as completely fully permitted and allow them to operate their businesses for as long as they choose to stay on the property, which is something that I'm definitely in favor of.
Are there any other properties or sites in the boundaries of the downtown specific plan that we anticipate having an overlay zone?
We're going to be studying that.
We may or may not. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it may be a possibility, it may not. We just have to analyze that fully.
All right.
And then provide that in the future.
Thanks.
I'll say that I took a lot of thought about this in the last 48 hours, and I maintain my position as last. My preference would be that we receive and file and take no action on this item. I understand the comments that were made earlier as it relates to, Mr. Olander talked about privately held properties deciding, but also talking about government and the overlay. I understand that, and I also understand the concerns of the property owners. I, too, have received calls of concern from some members of the neighborhood there as well. And if it's not broke, why bother? I don't think anything, if I recall correctly, when we went through the exercise of looking at the downtown specific plan boundaries, and I think Councilmember Ebner and I were kind of in agreement at that time about these two specific properties, that it just doesn't seem the nexus to what we would hold in our head to be downtown exists with these two specific properties. I can understand the
No.
And we would still be able to move forward?
Correct.
And it unimpacts the property owners. They continue to use that, and the homeowners aren't going to be concerned or nervous about any of this?
Correct.
You know, if this property isn't included in a specific plan, but at one time we were required to do some more housing and the properties for sale, we could purchase that property at that time, correct?
Let me answer the question. The intent of the report was just to update on the downtown specific plan.
But there's a recommendation.
The reason you're seeing a recommendation, the staff is not making the recommendation. It's not that clear. We're not making the recommendation to include these into it unless you desire to. We're bringing it up because since the input came from the public process, if there was a time you're going to make a change to the boundary during this planning process, doing it sooner rather than later it could have a dramatic effect on what kind of overlays, what kind of changes you made through the whole downtown specific plan. But I'm making very clear, we are not recommending you make a change unless you desire to. And so if you desire to take no action, then no action is necessary on the report, and we can move on, and we won't be bringing this back forth to you. To Councilmember Bertone's question, at any time, you can make changes to any property in the city, whether it's a rezone, general plan amendment, whether it's an applicant applying, we do that all the time, or whether it's the city trying to initiate that change at some other point in time. What a downtown specific plan does is it allows you to look holistically at an area and do implement a variety of tools that you can't necessarily implement one property at a time. And so right here, this is just an opportunity to bring some public input to the forefront, not necessarily to act on a change.
Well, since the property owner is not happy about the situation, I would agree with Ryan about just leaving it alone and dealing it in the future if it becomes necessary.
And I too agree, Ryan and Dennis and Eric and Emmett, that...
You don't know how I think.
I heard you talking. I think I know. But anyway, yeah, I can see why you might want to include this in the downtown specific plan boundaries. For one thing, it is more efficient if we're going to rezone these properties, do it as part of a bigger effort that's underway. On the other hand, I agree with all that has been said. Not that long ago, we did make some minor changes to the specific plan, to the zone, regarding the current uses.
So we went through the initiation, and we were in the process of doing a potential municipal code text amendment for SB 23, but we had put a hold on that because
we didn't get there. Okay.
It never formally came through. It went to Planning Commission once, I believe, but it never came before the council.
And I don't want to detract or delay at all from the downtown specific plan. So my view is that these properties can be handled, if we're going to finish that process or do anything else, in a separate discussion where we can focus specifically on them, specifically what effect it has on the neighborhood up there for a variety of reasons. And they do just seem a little different than the rest of the boundaries.
I think we'd call that specific plan 23.
Good. 23 has a good ring to it.
You like that? I'm with that.
Is there any opposition to receive and file on this item?
No.
Receive and file. Okay, item 2, adopt resolution 2022-41 approving the revisions of the fiscal year 2022-23 budget policy. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Early in the summer of 2021, we introduced a small package of policies regarding the financial area of the budget. Best practices indicate that specifying policies and internal controls helps the city maintain fiscal discipline and provides clear transparency to the levels of authority at different levels of staff. And so last year we made one change to that we introduced the policy during the budget process and we approved the initial set. We made a second change that added the capital asset reserve, which is known as Fund 100, that established and funded a pre-funding of future capital assets. This year, as we're approving it, there's a number of changes that we've listed in the staff report and redlined in the policies. One includes expanding the creation of a plan intended to ensure future fiscal resiliency and defining steps the city would take in the case that we run into difficulties or challenges, whether it be a program, a specific fund, or just overall, and help frame the decision-making we make into the future. And that would be a plan we would be developing and bringing to council at a future time. The second area includes some changes to the transfer authority. There's different funding level transfers authority. There's from personnel to non-personnel, from fund to fund, from category to category, and then between capital funds. And there's two changes that are being recommended. One, on the capital fund transfer, there's a request to reduce the authorization from $100,000 that the city manager can grant down to $50,000. During this last year, as we looked at what type of transfers were necessary, it didn't appear that we needed to exceed that $50,000 number. And so reducing that dollar amount just tightens the internal control. At some point at the future, we believe that it's administratively efficient and the council desires we can always increase that at a later time. The second area related to transfers between non-personnel and personnel. The recommendation we made initially was $0, that any transfer between those two type of expenditures come directly to the council. And part of the reason for that is you don't want to take one-time savings on a non-personnel side and then hire a full-time ongoing staff person that incurs an ongoing cost. You want to actually evaluate that decision on a case-by-case basis and look at the long-term implications of that position. However, there are times, since we have a large number of hourly or part-time staff, specifically in the recreation area, that when you do garner savings in a non-personnel area, that transferring that savings and adding hours to some of the operations and personnel is administratively efficient and easier done by that transfer to the extent that the budget authority is there. Or if you have vacancy savings, taking some of that vacancy savings and funding non-personnel items that are not on an ongoing basis. And what that does over the long term, it starts to reduce a pattern that we've had for the last 4 years where we start budgeting at the beginning of the year and have certain numbers we plan for. And by the time we finish the year, because of vacancy savings and other savings, real large swings from what looks like would have been a deficit to a very large surplus. This may help us to some extent make that a little bit smaller, but not dramatically. The last section is actually a new section that's being introduced. I'm sorry, there's two other changes. One is implementing GASB, Governmental Accounting Standards Board Standard number 54, which requires us to categorize all our governmental funds into 5 different categories. We already do that for each of our funds, but we haven't specified anything in policy that defines what each of those categories are. This allows a member of the public, when they see our policies, to know, what do you mean by unassigned? What do you mean by assigned, committed, or or a restricted type of fund? They can actually see the definition, and each governmental fund is classified in one of those categories. Lastly, there's a new section regarding settlement authority. You'll notice on the consent calendar today, there were 2 claims that were up for denial. That happens pretty regularly, and the denials come as a recommendation from our insurance JPA. The net effect of a denial is to limit the time period somebody has to file suit against the city, where typically they would have 2 years, and if you deny the claim, it doesn't mean that the claim ends there. It just means that that individual has 6 months to actually file on that claim, reducing the window for that suit to potentially occur. And the second piece of that is granting some limited settlement authority where it's administratively prudent or can save cost to consider allowing staff to make some small settlements that may avoid either costly evaluation by the city attorney's office, future litigation, or anything else that would be more costly if it's not covered by the JPA or it is cost savings to the city. And so with that, it's the recommendation of staff to approve the resolution with those recommended changes.
Questions?
I just had one question. It was on the last part that you talked about, Chris. So for everybody's reference, it's on page 14 of the attachment or page 179 of the agenda. And it deals with exactly what you were talking about, the the city manager being able to settle smaller amounts of claims. And two questions, really. One is the amount is $25,000. And is that per incident, and is there a cap? If it's per incident, is there a cap?
It would be generally the city manager's authority is $50,000. I can sign a contract without council approval up to that point if it's been budgeted. Here, the authority is granted at half that amount, but it would be per individual item.
And then, so would there be a report to the council on these things being settled? Right now, we're seeing them and we're denying them, just whatever they are, and I've seen them denied for like $232 or something like that. And would we see so at least we see that they're being denied. Would there be some kind of list or log of what's being done?
We can do, if that's the desire of the council, we can do a regular report. The denials will generally be the JPA recommending those denials, and we would deny those cases. The settlements, I would imagine, are few and far between. I'm looking at cases that may go to small claims court, for example, a $400 claim where asking the city attorney to evaluate that or sending staff to go to small claims court would cost more than the actual $450 claim. And it may be more expedient for us to make an offer to that individual to avoid the analysis and the actual small claims action.
And are we worried at all about a precedent in that case where we settle, we just pay the $400 because it's less expensive, but somebody comes with a $2,000 claim and they said, well, you did the $400, how come you're not doing this one?
Each claim would have to be evaluated. We'd obviously be consulting with the city attorney. I mean, there's the criteria that, it has to be in the best interest of the city. It results in less cost to the city than the legal costs associated with it, or it's not covered by our insurance coverages. The government code does provide authority for the city manager to settle pending litigation up to a certain dollar amount as specified by the council. It just becomes right now although not explicit, we take that settlement authority as being zero.
Right.
And so no matter what the claim may be, it may be a $100,
my windshield
vandalism
got
claim,
broke because,
and so we'll analyze that. We'll write a staff report, or we'll come to closed session and seek settlement authority for $100 to settle that claim, where the council could just allocate in the budget a certain amount that's allowed for settlement of claims, and then the authority is limited to what's in the policy.
So I'm okay with it as long as there's some discussion with maybe the city attorney on each particular one, even if it's $25, just so there's at least two people knowing about it. Even I don't know, is that okay, or what are you thinking?
We could add in consultation with the city attorney to the language here in the policy.
And that doesn't have to be a sit-down meeting. It could be a little email that here's what I'm thinking of doing. And
realistically, how I would implement this provision would be very rare. I can't predict every instance of what happens. There may be a time where settling it very quickly could avoid the city from thousands of dollars of claims, but with no settlement authority, we would have to wait first to go to closed session to get direction from the council to be able to settle, and then be able to provide that settlement. So I've, in other cities, been in the situation where an incident happens today, and then an opportunity arises to offer 1, 2, 3, or some dollar amount that would be far less than that typical claim would be if you take it through the whole claims process, and it's potentially a lawyer then gets involved and wants to then draw up that dollar amount. If it's not covered by the JPA, we incur the full cost. If it's covered by the JPA, our preference is just to give it to the JPA to go through their normal process and let them adjudicate that. But any settlement that the JPA makes then comes back as a cost to the city, but it's just amortized over time, which is how their model actually works. And so we're really looking at those very infrequent events. If there's an opportunity by doing this, makes absolute sense for the city and saves them money and headache into the future, it may be something you want to give flexibility to be able to do so. I'm okay not having any of this authority, but it would then just mean that any of these
No,
claims would have
I'm
to
not,
come to council.
that's not where I'm going. I'm thinking, and just see if the rest of the council thinks this could be a good idea, and if it doesn't have any other traction, that's fine. So on that page at the top, it says such general settlement authority may be exercised when, in the opinion of the city manager, add in consultation with the city attorney, such settlement would meet any of the following criteria, blah, blah, blah.
If the majority prefer this, then I'm not opposed to that language, but I am opposed. My preference would be not to grant the authority. Just in my experience, this takes claims from their own merit to a money game. I mean, that's basically when you watch what happens with this practice, because it's really monetarily driven. It's no longer really based off of the merit necessarily of the claim, but it's the economics of whether or not it makes sense to even look at the merits of it and say, hey, we're going to spend $3,000 consulting Jeff, and we're going to talk to you, and whatever that's worth, and then we're going to say, well, that's going to definitely put us in the red. We can just pay $100 and be done with this. And, you know, I have concern about that because I see that happening in government, in other places, and that story is told time and time again, wherein a city worker may be driving a public works truck and done nothing wrong, but all of a sudden, somehow, some way, there's damage to somebody else's property, a claim comes, and it's just more expedient to be able to just cut the check. And, you know, we're not admitting fault, you know, but the employee feels like, what, the city didn't even go to bat for me, you know. And so I'm not, for those reasons, my preference would be that we still review every claim that comes forward the way we've done it. And if we look at something and it, you know, we need to address it, we address it. But I just don't think that, to me, this practice really becomes economically driven. And that, to me, and it's ironically in the budget discussion, which is a key indicator that this will be an economic decision driven. And I think there's more to it, you know, than just the money.
You know, it's not uncommon for us to see these type of issues brought in on our consent calendar. So we at least have an opportunity to review it and read it. So then objections can be pulled. Any one of us can pull anything off of the agenda. John's pretty common with that. He looks at things and he has questions about it, and he pulls it. And any one of the five of us can do that. So I do agree with Ryan that this is something that we each should review. Then we could ask questions about it, and we can move it on as a consent item if necessary to move it forward, or we can pull it off and discuss it.
If I may, if that's the preference, I would just recommend the council strike that entire section. However, to the question that you raised, the JPA does make economic decisions based on the larger litigations that we potentially have. It is a numbers game. And so you could fight a case. I mean, I'm looking at the case that we talked about in public session of Santa Monica fighting the redistricting and spending millions and millions of dollars. Well, clearly, any settlement in that case is probably going to be in the millions of dollars, and that's obviously something we wouldn't be doing. We'd be in consultation with the council. Here, this is a few and far between type of case I could see coming to settlement. And so if it's not a slam dunk, the council says, yep, we're okay with you settling those cases for the reasons you highlighted. My preference is just to say, you know what, then no need to actually have it. Let's just not approve it. We'll bring those cases to council as we are now. So we'll bring the denials to council in consent, which is what will be our practice. Any settlement that's offered would be a closed session item. It would not be on the consent calendar at that time when you're negotiating a settlement with regards to that case. And it would only be when we don't have coverage through the JPA.
But an obscure code law about a tree height and somebody's RV getting scraped to hell, you know, you look at something like that, and it would never come to one's attention if it wasn't brought. And when we look at trends in claims, you know, I'd be lying if I didn't say I look at a claim and I go, there's another tree branch falling on somebody's car. You know, the awareness is an awareness that goes beyond just the merits of the claim. it's also going towards management issues for the community. So my fear is that, you may dispose, settle, otherwise solve a lot of these problems. But sometimes some of those things, and I'm not picking on trees, there's a whole bunch of other issues. There's pipes and sinkholes and other things that happen. But I mean, the bottom line is there are things that happen that really, if I didn't see the claims, I wouldn't know. And, so my preference is to stay aware of those things. And I also think, and I agree with you, and I know, yes, the major issues are going to be economically driven by and large. But I can tell you, without getting into closed session specifics, there are spirited discussions among the council members about these issues. And those issues, I think, are fascinating because when we really discuss them, you see what the community really values and cherishes, and where the issues are that we say, yeah, you know what, we're willing to do what we need to do for this issue because we up here collectively agree that this is an issue worth fighting for when it's in our ballpark. So
yeah, and to your point, we want to write policies that are not indicative of the person that's actually implementing, because it could be anybody. And so having the experience as being a risk manager, right, a tree branch, I'll use that example. A tree branch falls on a car, and it's a case where we didn't have prior knowledge of that tree branch.
Can we say a light pole, maybe? A light pole?
A light pole.
You can pick on trees because they are really the culprits in a lot of things.
Or a sidewalk.
I'm looking at pictures right now that says it.
Exactly.
Or a sidewalk lift that we didn't have prior knowledge, where some of it could be covered by the JPIA, but a quick settlement may actually completely remove that case. We'd still be denying that claim, right? And so it's a professional judgment. But it does increase the risk that you're looking at the economics and thinking, hey, you know what, just cut a small check and let's just move on, as opposed to just letting it go through the process and having the discussion of the council. I welcome the discussion, so this is not an area that we want, that I'm dying on the vine to make sure we get the authority. So I just recommend we strike it.
So would that be the entire section F1, or which section would be the one that's, or all?
I would
of F?
recommend approval with the amendment that section F, fiscal administration policies, be removed in that approval.
The general public pulls the agenda package. They have an opportunity to read everything. Claims are redacted, and many people look at them, realizing that the redacted information and specific, but they see what the claim is actually for. And I think that's important there are people out there who live and die by our agenda package. And quite honestly, this gives them an opportunity to see what the council's, and it sees where it's going to go, because at some point, every one of these people have that opportunity to take it to the next level, to file a lawsuit, and then it will end up in JPIA's hand and whoever. I just think it's just still a better way to go if we're talking about transparency, and that seems to be where we keep going with a lot of things about transparency. That doesn't mean that later on down the line you might bring it back and we may change our mind about it, but the reality is I think I agree that we should just go ahead and strike that whole section.
I would move approval of Resolution 2022-41 as proposed by the city manager, striking the sections as he outlined.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Item number 3, appoint a voting delegate to the 2022 Cal Cities Annual Conference and Expo. Deborah?
I'd like to nominate Dennis in overtime.
Give him something to do.
Mayor, council members, the annual League of California Cities is requesting confirmation of the City Council's appointment of a voting delegate and an alternate for the annual business meeting. The conference will take place from September 7th through the 9th, 2022. On July 27th, 2021, Council appointed Councilmember Viana as the city's delegate and Councilmember Ebner as the alternate, and City Manager Chris Constantine as the second alternate. The voting delegate and alternate must be registered and attend the conference or at a minimum the Friday session for voting. Staff recommends the council appoint a voting delegate and an alternate for the annual business meeting at the League of California Cities Conference in September 7th through the 9th, 2022. This item is a budgeted item for those delegates to attend.
Thank you, Ryan and John.
You're welcome, Mayor.
Any discussion?
I would just say, I know in the past, when we were going to this and it's local, that other council members have attended, so I would hope that any of the other council that wish to attend the sessions were permitted to.
I do plan on attending.
Okay.
No, you are. You're the alternate.
Actually, Chris is, but
Yep.
that away.
Obviously, anything could happen between now and September.
Yeah.
Anyone have any objection to Ryan and then John being the alternate?
Good idea.
Good. Yeah. Dennis says that's a good idea.
Well, there it is. It's done.
All right. Well, let's move forward.
Oh, Mayor, I would just, while we're on the item, then I would, if we need to make an appropriation for the other council members to attend, then I would support doing that. I think we should have it, though.
Pretty certain I budgeted for at least 4.
Okay.
Because in the past, there had been 3.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I will verify that, and budgeted actually for the even hotel stay, because they used to do that in the past.
If the oncoming councilman would like to attend to
Yes.
it, accommodate him.
Yes.
Okay.
If I may, if we could just have a motion a second to make those selections in terms of the budget, as we look at the budget based on how many council members want to go, if there's a need for additional funds, we have transfer authority, as we just passed the policies, to ensure that the members that want to go are able to go.
Cool. Oh, so moved. Reaffirming the recommendations then.
Oh, second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, we'll move on to oral communications. Members of the audience, speakers are limited to 3 minutes or as may be determined by the chair. Anyone wishing to speak to the council?
Ready. Good evening, council, staff, and Dennis. We want to thank you for your dedication and your support, all the time that you put into our city, and we look forward to seeing you around at the wine shop, other places. Why we are here is there's been some recent crime up in our area, up in Villa Verde. I've been working with Chris Constantine, Captain Ash, I've ran into Emmett a bunch, Eric Weber in our area, Ryan. This is Vilma Acevedo. She's the HOA president in Villa Verde Estates, and her area is fantastic, has not been hit. She's got gates. She has cameras. She has a flock camera, which has worked fantastic. We are working up in our area on Villa Verde Ridge to possibly get some flock cameras. We have a meeting tomorrow with flock to help cover the southwest end of the city to try and help the city as well. As you know, many of you, I emailed quite a bit of you and talked to some of you on, what was it? Palermo Bakery, Livia Kitchen, and our friends, Sushi Girl, were hit on Sunday, smash and grabbed. You know, my building and my tenants were same thing, down in downtown in December. So I've been here with Sherry Garwick. Thank you, and Public Works, getting the lights turned back on downtown for safety. They're on, but Sherry, they're off right now. The street lights are off. It's dark. But what we would like to do is we would like to, Vilma and I have been going to the Public Safety Commission meetings. We're going to be there again at the next one, July. to work with our area, Via Verde, with the parking rides now. Summer's here. We've seen a lot of things going on in the parking rides. The Antonovich Trail, Benelli Park, Raging Waters, the traffic's to San Dimas Avenue now. They're blocking the lanes to get on the freeway for our residents now. We got a lot of people coming through our town. They come off the 10, they come up Via Verde, and sheriff is limited to the amount of deputies that he has. We hopefully, I know there's a budget in the city, we would like to ask for one more motor officer or one more deputy sheriff to maybe through summer come through the Via Verde area and help us. We help the fire victims, Palermo Bakery and La Villa, and my girlfriend up in my area, she was burglarized on Saturday night. She also donated for the fire victims. We've been keeping them in the, thank you Ryan, also for your donation, keeping them in the Red Roof Inn, keeping them housed. A lot of us businesses have and residents, it's been great. And they got hit, they were burglarized. They're helping the victims for the fire. I was there, grabbed their donations, and now they've all been burglarized all this weekend. You know, good businesses, good people that live here. So we're just asking for a little bit of help. Like I said, we know there's a budget. I know I've been here with the mobile home park. They got quite a bit. I know Parks and Rec. I know trees. I know, but we think our residents, our businesses, our citizens, we deserve safety, and we want to help. We're here, like I say, we're going to try and get all the HOAs, other HOAs involved. We've got quite a few in Via Verde for a safety meeting, if we can get Ash.
Yeah, we're going
Eric, you're our council in our district. Together, we all want to fight back. You know, we're ready. This is our great town. Summer's here, and so is a lot of the riffraff.
And if there's anything we can do about
Yeah.
this shopping center, there needs to be more lighting. It's extremely dark.
It's very dark.
I'm sorry. Our residents do not shop at night anymore. In my community, I've asked people, they don't go to the Vaughn's shopping center at night. It's extremely dark and dangerous. And after all these events, it's just not going to be comfortable anymore. So we need to perhaps talk to the owners of the shopping center and have them install some more lighting, maybe some cameras. Just give us some support here. And I don't know how to go about it. Maybe you can talk to them and start the process of getting them to help us.
Well,
So that
thank
we
you very
can-
much. And you're speaking to the people that here, you have the city manager, you have the sheriff's captain in the back. All of these things are on the front page right now. They're front and center of everything that you're talking. We understand it, but you also have to understand we also have other places in the community that are getting the same problem. Unfortunately, the bad guys are bigger than us at this point, and we will continue to work on it. We have a very dedicated staff in the Sheriff's Department who are working extremely many hours of overtime to try to prevent things. But we're not the only city with these problems here. Every city in the community is in the region is having it, but the beauty of this is we get to hold the captain accountable. So
We just want to help Captain Ash.
Thank you very
And
much.
With the HOAs with flock cameras, we can purchase some, at least some are work together as community.
And as you know, the city is planning on putting additional cameras
I
in.
saw that, yeah.
Right? Thank you
We
very
need-
much.
Thank you.
Thanks for attending the meeting. Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak to the council? Seeing none, we'll go to the city manager.
Just a brief update. The city held its State of the City address, the chamber sponsored State of the City address this past Thursday. Wonderful job done by the mayor in his State of the City address, as well as the Chamber of Commerce, who provided information on the state of business. And we're very thankful to the chamber and all the city staff that participating in putting the venue together and making the event a very successful one. A very wonderful another event will be coming forth. It's on August 6th on Saturday from 5 to 9 p.m. It's the city's birthday, and that's the first Saturday of August that we'll be celebrating here at Civic Center. So put that on your calendar, August 6th, Saturday, 5 to 9 p.m. The city's cooling center has been open this entire week from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. due to the very hot weather. The weather's expected to drop to about the high 80s, yet the cooling center will still be in operation here at the senior center. And lastly, I want to thank Councilmember Barton for the last year and a half that I've been here. You've been wonderful to work with. It's sad to see you go. It's always amazing to see somebody spend more than 30 years volunteering effectively to make a difference in the community. And it really makes a difference to staff in terms of seeing your steady leadership through that entire time. And the city is so much better because of it. You will be missed, but I am very certain that you and I will be seeing each other quite a bit after you retire. So thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney?
Yes, I just also want to say to Dennis, I've been here as the city attorney for a very minute portion of the time that you've served the city of San Dimas, but during that time, you've been a good friend and a great client, a very reasonable, smart city council member. I am appreciative of... You used to sit right there, and I used to sit right there, and before every single council meeting, you would ask me how I'm doing with my... what vacations I'm getting ready to take and everything about my life, and I appreciated that. It was good working with you, Dennis, and you will be greatly missed.
Okay. We have anything further, Chris, on the goal line or anything?
Other than the 50% mark press conference that they held previous Friday, there is no changes to report.
I'd like to thank Dennis and John for attending that presentation by the goal line last Friday, I believe. Okay, well, thank you guys for attending. Okay, members of the City Council, councilman's reports on meetings attended at the expense of the local agency. Anyone? Hearing none, we'll go to any City Council requests for future items. All right. We'll go to councilman comments. Dennis, you don't get to talk right now. Eric?
Well, I'm going to limit it to just talking about Dennis today because, that's what today's all about. So I wish more people were here, but we've got a few holdouts to the end of the meeting. As people have been already saying, Dennis was first elected to the city council in 1988, which means that he's been on the council for 34 years. Just estimating, that's about 12,495 days, just a rough estimate. It may be exact, I'm not sure. And then that's a massive amount of time. And being that this year marks the 62nd anniversary of the city's incorporation, that also means that, Dennis, you've been on the city council for longer than half the amount of time the city's even existed, which is pretty crazy to think of. Dennis, you've definitely seen a thing or two in those 34 years. And while your retirement is certainly well-deserved, it's going to be bittersweet because with your retirement comes all of that knowledge and experience that you've gained over those 12,000 days. And there's going to be a hole in the council because of it. And I'm sure of those, I think Krishna said there was 1,000 meetings. There's probably plenty of late nights, tough decisions, and a lot of ire from certain segments of the community. But you've endured all of that, and throughout the time that you've been on the council, you've certainly helped make San Dimas exceptional. So you've left your mark for many years to come, that's for sure. I've got so much to say, so I'm going to try to get it out. You're deserving of so much more than just a thank you for all that you've given to the public. And that includes your first career and your time on the council here. I think both of those serve the public greatly. I know you probably won't miss everything about the council, but I can assure you that the city and the rest of the council will miss everything about you. Also, and this on a happy note, I know this isn't goodbye because we all know where to find you. And as Kathy was saying, in case anybody doesn't know where to find Dennis, it's at the wine shop. So you can always find him there. And I wish you a very happy and healthy retirement, Dennis.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ryan?
All right. I have a couple things, and then I'm going to get to Dennis. One is I appreciate members of the public bringing up the burglaries. The city did and has invested to expand the flock camera system. I do know the Sheriff's Department was investigating what was occurring up there. And I do know that our sheriff's station is vested in taking care of these situations. So I look forward to seeing that, and I trust there's probably more patrols going on up in that area in our shopping centers to be able to divert or avert these situations. I wanted to thank staff and the members of the public. Folks are funny because people engage in social media in a lot of different ways. And recently, sometimes some members of the public will tag my elected account on Facebook sometimes, and it makes me aware of things that maybe perhaps I otherwise wouldn't know about. Recently, there was a situation involving somebody who was said to be homeless and living in their car. And I just wanted to thank staff from the time I reached out to Chris very late on a Sunday when I think I learned about it to the following day, the outreach and everything else that transpired. I'm not going to get into the weeds about it because it's a personal matter, I think, for that member of the public, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but I do want to acknowledge staff, and I appreciated your coordination, your diligence, and your leveraging of various resources to work towards solving that situation. So thank you for that. 4th of July is coming upon us very shortly, and we do have some fire risk areas. So please remember that fireworks are prohibited here in the city of San Dimas unless it's in conjunction with a football game at the high school. But the bottom line is please go to other areas where there are safe and sane fireworks, but this area does seem to smolder a little bit, and let's not do it. So, and the other thing is the Total Wine and More grand opening was pretty amazing, and that happened the day after our last council meeting. And if you haven't had an opportunity to get over there, please stop by that business. They definitely are, I'm going to say, better than Bevmo, and you have a lot of reasons to visit there, whether you are someone who likes wine or scotch, bourbon, soda, or scotch, or, well, everybody shouted out. I'm going to get them all out, what everybody's favorite is. But there's also cured meats and things like that. So I highly encourage you. They have a very unique selection there. Some things that are unique, some things that are not. But the other thing is, it's interesting, is Two Brothers. It's a family-owned independent chain. It is very huge. And they actually donated portions of their grand opening to the Laverne San Dimas Educational Foundation. And so right off the bat at their grand opening, getting very involved in the community. I applaud them for that. I look forward to their continued involvement in San Dimas, Laverne, and the surrounding area. Now, all that said, Dennis, for 2 years, I came to the council meetings before running for council and then getting on, and I interviewed for the senior commission with you, and I was too young for the senior commission. I couldn't figure it out at the time, but I guess I was a little younger than needed. But, you know, when I ran, I watched for almost 2 years the council, and you can appreciate somebody, but I will tell you, I have grown to be a huge fan of yours over my short time here. And your ability, one is when we ran, I was so impressed and, you know, in a campaign competitive way, to see you out there knocking on doors. I can't tell you just how inspired, I wasn't going to get emotional about this, but how inspired I was to see somebody that committed at your tenure, at your stage in life, that it was that important to you for this community to get out there and talk to people, connect with people, and fight for it. And you did. And I had so much insight and respect for you after watching that I was like, wow, I look forward to serving with you, because if it was that important to you to get out there and do it, it was serious.
And then, you know, who'd have known that we'd get a bonus year extension together, and then we'd get a few extra months together, and, you know, and here we are 5 years and a few months later. You always have listened. You've always been fair to issues. You've compromised at times, and you've held your ground at times. But you've always done it in a way that there was no question, unequivocally in my mind ever, that you were doing it from the heart, you were doing it for the right reasons, and you firmly believed that you were doing it because it's what the people elected you to do. I'm very sad to see you go, because when you work up here, and I of all people know this, for 3 agonizing years, I was a 4-1 vote in the minority. It can be very frustrating when you see things that you're passionate about or you want to try to get done for the community, and you might not be able to do it. You might not have support. You might not see how to get it through. But you were always true to issues. You're always true to the community. And especially in these last few years with some very difficult decisions, you really see who somebody is, especially in closed sessions. And I think that if people could see not just what they see publicly, but the things that happen, the hard decisions that have to be made, the advocacy that occurs, the insight that's contributed, people should be very proud, and they already are, but they would be immensely proud of your service. And so for the sliver I've had, I greatly appreciate you. I wish you the best. And I don't drink wine, but I will meet you somewhere that has alternatives to that, and we will have a drink. Congratulations, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
John?
Dennis, you've contributed so much during your time on the city council. Thank you for serving the people of San Dimas and doing it with class. Now, I was trying to figure out what to say about Dennis, and a couple things came to mind. Dennis Bertone, connoisseur of wine, fine food, art, and classical music. Dennis Bertone, dog lover, who once said that any person who wants to be the city manager of San Dimas should, at the very least, have a dog. Dennis Bertone, husband and college sweetheart of Diana, who was wonderful, witty, warm, a dynamo. Dennis and Diana Bertone were partners in everything. It would be a mighty task to catalog everything that Dennis has done for the city of San Dimas. He led the fight to save Benelli Park, and the press release was only half of it, or it was a nightmarish plan to over-commercialize Benelli Park back in the 80s, and what a fight that was. In his very first campaign, he made creating a senior center one of the main issues that he was running on. He championed the Gold Line. He devoted his time to the Festival of Arts, Meals on Wheels, the Chamber of Commerce, the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, Rivers and Mountains Conservancy, and the list just goes on. Dennis, on the City Council, you have always voted your principles for open space, the environment, senior citizens, neighborhoods, fiscal responsibility, affordable housing, quality of life, and one thing that I especially appreciate, caring for those who need our attention. So I appreciate that. So I just want to say thank you. You have been a mentor, a colleague, and a friend. And I really can't say goodbye or farewell. So to put it simply, Dennis, we'll see you around.
Thank you very much, John. You know, it's interesting that John and I are very close, but he doesn't take a grudge, because when he first ran for city council, I supported his opponent, and John beat her. But ever since there, John, I've supported you, so thank you very much.
I appreciate that too. Thank you, Dennis.
There's a couple of things I want to say prior to speaking about Dennis. One, I want to thank as everyone knows, about 3-4 weeks ago, we had a pretty tragic fire up off of Baseline. And because of that, we saw some community members here really come about and participate. We saw some downtown residents put together, food baskets and other type of clothing and things like that. They really came out and did the role as a community, as a family. Okay. Later on, as time progressed, and it got some legs and started moving along, the people up in Villa Verde, Kathy Began and others, they started making additional arrangements. And quite honestly, they've put the family up into a hotel. They show the good, both the downtown area, the Villa Verde area, the whole community came together, and I want to thank them personally. They showed me what San Dimas is really all about, not the bickering and not this and that. They came together to do what was best and right for the city, for the residents here. So thank you guys very much. Thank those people out that are watching on television, those people that were very much involved in the original outreach. But thank you very much. There's a lot of things can be said about Dennis. I think a lot of things have been said about Dennis for about the last month. Every time we go to an event, Dennis is always the topic of discussion because he's done so much for this community. Okay, not that guy that's just, hey, I'm out here beating my chest. He's always that guy sitting back, voicing his concerns about what we can do for the community and what he can do for the community. And, I've served now on the council for the last 16 and a half years as a partner of Dennis's, and it's been a great 16 and a half years. But prior to that, I spent pretty close to 16 years actually being his employee. I served on the Public Safety Commission, or committee at that time, it was Law Enforcement Committee, and then I got selected to be on the Planning Commission. And all of these times you're looking for advice, you're looking for, what people can tell you. Dennis was always saying, just listen and realize that there are people trying to make these things happen. And you control what they're doing with their lives. And I always appreciated that. Sometimes Dennis and I didn't see that eye to eye. I can remember sitting right in this seat, looking out there at that first chair out there, and Dennis was sitting in that planning commission meeting, and I could see him, and occasionally I thought he was moving that head from left to right. I wasn't 100% sure where I was going, but I figured that once I got off of the dais, I was going to be met at the side door saying, hey, where'd you come up with that idea? And but I was fortunate that I've had an opportunity to work well over 30 years with Dennis, and I think I know that he knows that my wife and I think he's a very, very important man, and I always have fun with my wife, who says, hey, you need to take this over to Dennis's house. She got some food for him, and when I knock on that door, Dennis has got the big grin on his face, saying, what did you bring me? I do want to thank my wife for remembering, my friend, and we're here anytime. And don't forget, we have lunch next week. Okay. Now, Dennis, you get to say all you want, and by the way, we've got a hard stop in 5 minutes.
Well, I think I've already spoken enough, but I want to thank everyone and thank the citizens of San Dimas again for electing me to the city council 8 times, which is an awful lot. And the people of San Dimas are lucky with the city council because there's not, even though, as Emmett has said, we have disagreed on several occasions, we agree most of the time. And there's not one person here that's here for personal gain, and I think that's unusual. There's not one person here on this council that's trying to promote their own business or whatever. So I want to thank the council. I've made some friendships, and I thank you very much. And the only thing I have to say is have a safe and sane 4th of July, and thank you for everything.
With that being said, I will tell you that Dennis will be here the next meeting.
I'll be here to help swear in you and Ryan again.
And Eric?
And Eric.
Nakano. Okay, he'll be here at the beginning of the meeting.
And then I'll have to leave.
Well, you don't have to go too far. You only have to go out there to those chairs. Okay? But I'm sure.
I just want to say that this is a great city, and I see a couple people here. I see Margie Green. She thanked me and everything, and I want to thank people like Margie and the Olanders for what they have done for the city. The Olanders have been very generous with their money to the school board, but people probably don't realize, and they volunteer a lot. And if it wasn't for Margie, the chamber would be in dire straits, and now she's president of the Historical Society. So you're the type of people that really need to be thanked and appreciated, that makes San Dimas the city that it is. So thank you from me. Thank you very much. And thank you for your support.
All right, Dennis, and as you know, it's not over yet. We're going to go into a closed session. Okay. We have a closed session with Conference with Real Property Negotiators, property at 1525 Sycamore Canyon Road. Closed session will convene in 5 minutes.